Hello everyone and welcome again to my channel. And today we're going to be discussing something that many people consider, and I would say rightly so, perhaps the pinnacle of reel-to-reel machines development. I'm talking, of course, about the mighty Studer A820. It is a very, very mean machine, highly respected, very hard to obtain, and very desirable. And today we're going to review two samples of this particular model. As you can see here, one is a full function sample with a bridge, and the other one is bridgeless machine. So we'll talk a little bit about why these different configurations, what do they offer, and why would you consider one over the other one. Both machines that you are seeing here share a lot of common functionality. Specifically, they both been modified for direct output by Dan Labrie from Myriad Magnetic, and therefore they both rely on external head preamps. Here you can see them mounted right below the decks. They basically belong to the same generation of the head preamplifiers. They're like little brothers. And interesting to see that their serial numbers are 7 and 11. It was not intentional, it just happened that way. But like I said, the two tape machines are very, very similar, but we'll talk about their differences and why would one prefer one over the other. Functionally, the two machines are nearly identical if you disregard for the moment just the presence or absence of the bridge, metered bridge. But there are still some differences. For example, the machine on the right has a little bit lower functionality in terms of what it can do. Specifically, the left machine is full function. It can support or it can use 14-inch reels, which is sometimes very handy. The machine on the right, on the other hand, can only work with 12.5-inch reels or platters. Okay, so there is a small difference in functionality, and for most people, 12.5-inch reels is probably more than they will ever need. The other difference is absence of the 30 inches per second speed on the right machine. Once again, this particular loss of functionality may not be such a big deal for quite a few people. But getting rid of those particular functions makes the machine a little bit more manageable. It is a little bit smaller in overall size, slightly lighter, and just maybe more convenient if you are trying to fit it into your interior. If you do a search on that particular model of Studer, you will find tons of information on this machine, on its functionality, its usability, its quality, modifications, and whatnot. So I'm not trying to encompass all this type of information in one short video. I'm just going to give you my personal take on those machines, on life with them, their conveniences, and maybe some minuses. But again, it is going to be my take. First of all, in terms of general impressions, both of those machines are exceedingly well built. This indeed is pinnacle of development for reel-to-reel machines, and having come from Studer, they don't need any further recommendation. Everything speaks high quality, highest possible execution level, and perhaps, but not necessarily, very good sound quality. A little bit more on that later. Both machines are extremely heavy. I don't know the exact weight of this particular configuration, but it pushes 200 pounds. Needless to say, it takes 4 people to move it comfortably, as opposed to the one on the right is about the same, but the previous champ in that regard, the heavy-duty Ampex ATR-102, only required 3 people. That's a big difference, if you ask me. And I had to handle it. Once you open up the machine case, you will see why Studer is so well known in this industry. They simply did not cut any corners. From the heavy-duty cast chassis to heavy, very large and heavy motors, big motors, it speaks highest possible quality. Coupled to that is very, very sure operation these machines offer. All the controls work perfectly, and the machine responds to your commands like nothing else. There is simple physical joy in operating those machines. Just a small bit of criticism of the overall package is the fact that I find this machine sitting on its stand a bit too low for my height of 6 foot 1 inch. Some of the machines are about 3 to 4 inches taller, and that makes them more comfortable for me. But on the other hand, the stand that comes with the Studer is simply the champion in the marketplace. The way it operates allows you to tilt machine both in forward and backwards way, and especially the way it locks it in the selected position is simply unbelievable. I've dealt with many other machines, and what always bugs me is they all wobble when you lean on them or when you touch them. They simply are not locked into the position. There is usually some play in their attachment. None of that is here with Studer. The mechanism that allows to set different angles, attaching the machine to the stand, is simply perfect. All the controls are laid out in very, very clean, very nice fashion, easy to operate. There is hardly any confusion about them. So that's basically the touch of the champion in this particular area. And of course, this particular model offers multitude of possible formats, including 2 and 4 channel stereo, 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch, and even larger tape formats. It's not very easy to convert one to another simply because of its very, very high cost and scarcity in the marketplace. You simply cannot go out and buy a new kit for $1,000 and install it in 15 minutes. No, it doesn't work that way. The conversion will be very, very expensive to do, especially considering parts like the head block, the heads, and all the rollers involved in this particular configuration. Don't forget, one of the claims to fame of this mechanism is the lack of tape pushers. No matter what operation you perform, The tape only moves over rotating rollers. And the claim, of course, is it puts much less stress on the tape, it wears out much less, and that is probably true. From my perspective, I cannot verify this claim because there are so many fine machines in the marketplace that use tape pushers. And apparently they work very well. But I like the idea of having tape run over the rollers, even if the benefit was very, very marginal. For somebody like me, in the big studio, when you run tapes at high crazy speed and you come to almost abusing your tapes, that probably means a lot of difference. But not for somebody who is careful with his valuable tapes, who handles them gently anyway. But anyway, it's nice to have this nice clean layout, and the way it operates, it's beautiful. Like I said, this machine is simply a joy to operate. Now, given very much similar functionality of the two machines, why would you even consider the bigger one with all the meters in it? Because the one on the right is capable of doing recording, it's perfectly calibratable, it's got recording input, it does very, very high quality recordings. So why the large one? And the answer, of course, is very simple, because most of us probably don't have completely calibrated environment in our systems, which is to say that our sources most likely don't produce signals at calibrated levels. And in that environment, it's valuable to have controls, both for recording and for playback systems. And that's what the big machine offers you. It's just a matter of flexibility. I would say for the average home user, this machine would be preferred for this reason. If you look at the meter bridge on the left machine, you will immediately recognize the familiar functions you normally see on machines like Studer A810 or A820, which is both good thing and not so good thing, because on one thing, yes, it's familiar interface, it works very well. But on the other hand, it means that the designers cut some corners. So instead of generating completely new system for the audio reproduction chain, they went with the existing solution. Is that good? I don't know. To me, not to me, because overall, the audio cards in that series of machines leave a lot to be desired in my view. So when Studer redesigned their machines, mostly concentrating on mechanical aspects of tape handling, I absolutely applaud it. But I would like them to do another round of audio circuits. Because be it as it may, but the sound quality of typical Studer is not all that spectacular, especially in the area of sound reproduction. It simply uses the same plug-in cards, same solutions it designed long time ago for the lesser series machines. So in some sense, they missed their chance. And there is not going to be another chance in history, because the time of those type of mastodons is unfortunately over. As I mentioned earlier, you can see two head preamps sitting on the shelves below the main operating machines. And these two preamps come from the same generation of my work, but they have some differences. The numbers 7 and 11 are just reflective of the time I put my hands on them for the first meeting. But I've done many other modifications later. And today, they share some similarity but also some differences. Most of the differences are in the choice of passive components, specifically capacitors and some resistors. The bulk of the circuitry is the same, and it is very effective circuitry. They both are fully balanced tube designs with zero feedback. They're very, very quiet. You can't see any noise now, but even if you put your ear to the speaker, you would not hear it. The system is all tube, but it's very, very quiet. As you can see in the picture, the preamps are sitting right below the decks, so they connected with very, very short interconnect cables. They are less than 2 feet long. Very high quality cable, very, very short cables. As you can see, the preamplifiers have 5 different EQ positions. Right now they switch to IC, 15 inches per second. The equalization curve for those preamplifiers was set on the audio precision test system, and it was not, at least yet, fine-tuned on the particular machines. Here is the way the typical calibration curves for this type of preamplifiers look on the audio precision system. You can see 4 tape equalization curves and also the RIAA curve going on top of it. And they're all very well behaved and set perfectly. How perfectly, you might ask? Well, here's the RIAA error plot obtained for one of those amplifiers, number 11 in this case. As you can see, the error is very, very small. It can be even further adjusted, but at this point I don't see any need for that. It's almost ruler flat across the whole audio band. Now I would like to mention pluses and minuses of these models the way I, as a customer, see them. And again, this is going to be just my list. Somebody else might have perfectly different or totally different opinion about any of those features. Let me start with the minuses. First of all, it's very, very high cost, both in purchasing and parts, machine itself and services. It is a complicated machine and the parts are scarce, their availability is limited, and they're very, very expensive. Also, as I mentioned before, the audio circuits carry old design from the older series preamps or recording and playback circuits, and that shows. The machines are fairly complex. There are some functions which are very, very difficult to adjust or operate, and therefore your technician should be of very high caliber. I don't think somebody who's been doing, let's say, TX or Akais will be able to properly maintain this type of machine. It requires very good level of expertise. Not impossible, mind you, no, but it has to be very, very good technician. Speaking of the pluses, I already mentioned that the general operation of these machines is near perfect. If you value such things as tactile feel and just general impression, that means a lot. But even more importantly, these machines have wonderful calibration user interface. And the way it works is just marvelous. Most of those functions are hiding under this little door, and once you open it, you see those push buttons, which are very easy to operate. You go through the calibration tree using those navigation keys, and you adjust your parameter using this wheel, which is very, very big joy to operate. It's smooth, it works precisely, it's very predictable. And once you select a particular combination, you simply save it by pressing this button. And then you go down, further down the menu tree. So the audio calibration is done very, very straightforwardly. It's very easy. You go through different steps. Using this button, you go down from playback level to playback EQ to recording functions. And every time you use your wheel here to adjust the parameter. And then you go into my favorite area. One of the next step is your mechanical adjustments. And specifically, you come to the area where you can adjust both full speed rewind and library rewind speeds. And that is definitely my favorite area. Some of you might know that I love the machines that have multiple wind speeds. In my view, any good machine must have at least one library rewind speed. And Studer goes much further in this regard. In this screen, you can see library rewind or wind speed. And you can see right now it is set to 4 meters per second. Is that too high? Let's see how it goes. Well, most people would probably say it's not too high, it may be comfortable, because the default value is 5 meters per second. But to me, it is still a bit too fast, because I value my tapes, especially when I use some old master tapes. They might not like this type of high-speed rewind. So what I do is start playing with this control, changing the speed. As you can see, I can go down to 3 now, or I can go up all the way to 15 if necessary. 15 is kind of ridiculous to me because that's also the full speed wind maximum speed. But anyway, that's what it is. So the range on both of those alignment adjustments is from 0.1 meter per second to 15 meters per second. So let's just see how it works. If you start the machine running at 10 is too high. Let's go down to default value of 5. Just a second, I'm getting there. I'm at 5 now. So if you're doing 5, watch now what happens if I start turning wheel down. Now I'm 3.5, I'm going down, it's about 2 meters per second. That's a very comfortable speed for some old tapes. But I can go down even lower. This is 1. And now if I go to 0.1 meter per second, that's about the same as moving tape at 9 centimeters per second. That's very slow. I would say that's definitely too slow, but you have range of adjustment, which is very, very good. And personally, I normally keep it at 4. This is 4 now. To me, that's a comfortable speed. And like I said, if I'm handling some very old tape, I might go even lower. The point is, this adjustment is so easy to do on the fly, it makes sense to do it on each tape if you value that particular tape individually. This user interface is simply wonderful. Like I said, operating those controls is almost perfectly intuitive. Using this wheel to set the parameters, moving through the list of parameters with the menu buttons. Perfect. I would say that's as perfect as it gets. This machine really is the pinnacle of development in the areas such as tension controls. If you look at this particular geometry with the sensor in the middle, you can see that this geometry guarantees the same consistent tape tension. Unlike with some other schemes where the geometry changes with the size of the real pack, tape pack, this one doesn't. And that's very predictable, very easy to calibrate, and very, very precise system. And so is the whole mechanical part. If you look at this layout, all these parts perfectly machined, it's a joy to look at, joy to operate. And the resulting quality, if you use an external head preamp, is simply superb. So my advice is, if you can afford such a machine, and if you can find one in very good condition, and if there is a service guy not too far away from you, definitely consider it. And maybe the final comment I would like to mention that I normally operate those machines tilted forward like this. And the answer why is very simple. Normally I prefer the machines sitting horizontally. To me that's more natural when I operate them, and the height is more comfortable for me. Because you see, when you drop the front, you drop some height of the machine, overall machine. But with the machine tilted forward, I can actually see the timer from my listening chair. And to me that's a good benefit. I don't have the remote that allows me to see the timer marks. I'm still looking for one. I know they made one, but it's very, very hard to find. But this way, I can control the machine remotely, looking at its tape counter right from my chair. And now, with all this out of the way, first of all, let me thank you for stopping by again. Let me know if you have any questions. Please forward them to me. I would be happy to answer them. And I hope to see you next time. So please take care of yourself and your family, your loved ones. And see you next time. And now a little bit of music.